What's going on, family? This is your host, John, aka Jay David, and you are tuned into episode 7 of the Cavalier Convos podcast. So tonight I have a few of my friends here with me. What's going on, fellas? We got my man Kenny in the building.
Yep.
What's up, Kenny?
Yep.
We got Dwayne.
Yo. What's good? What's good?
We're not in the building. We're not in the building again.
We all in different places.
Live and direct.
Yeah, man. But who else we got? We got Fonz. My man Fonz is good, brother.
What's the deal?
And then we got a new brother on the podcast tonight. We got my brother Deshaun. Some of you people out there know him as Redeemed. My man is a battle rapper, gospel hip hop artist, a lot of things. But Deshaun, Redeemed, my brother. What's going on, my man? How you doing?
Good, man. What's going on out there? What's up?
Good, man. So how's everybody doing, man? How's life been treating y'all with all this crazy stuff that's been going on? Just with this corona and pandemic and lockdowns and shutdowns and social distancing. How are y'all feeling mentally? You know, are y'all in good spaces?
Trying to get there. This week has been quite emotional. I know for me, my reactions to everything have sort of graduated into other stuff. Like consistently, I'm angry. Consistently, I'm tired. This week, I've had a number of moments of sadness, like where I had to literally step away from what I'm doing for a couple of minutes, compose myself, and then get back to it. It's been a rough week. I'm glad that we're doing this today.
Oh, yeah, man. I agree. I mean, this whole few months has been crazy, man. I could say, honestly, I'm thankful, to still be working, to still be employed, to still be making money and doing a lot of other things. And, it's been a life lesson for me, this whole situation. So, yeah, man. Dwayne, man, how you feeling, brother?
Well, I'm good. Of course, through this whole situation, I had to go to work as regular. So, because I'm essential. So it's been rough. They open up states, numbers still going up. So it's kind of one thing, you just got to be cautious. Still not going out, still doing it. Hey, Memorial Day weekend, had a cookout, but guess what? Me, my son, probably 2 other people. Got to do what they got to do until, everything get cleared up, man, because people got to take this serious, don't realize this is a serious situation. It's not to play with.
Yeah, man. Glad you're doing well, man. Good to see your face, man. You got Fonz, man. What's good, brother? You got some news for us, man? You want to talk about real quick?
Yeah, no doubt. I'm smooth mentally. Got to stay sharp. Got a lot going on. There's Compton event space. I went against the grain and went into the obstacle and got an event space. Kind of odd, especially at a time like this. But I'm pretty optimistic, man. I got the feeling that I've made the right move. And once this shit is, all over, it's corona and all that, it's over, business is going to be crazy. So just kind of jumped into an opportunity when most people is down. I said, let me step up, keep myself sharp, keep myself focused, and take on a venture. So I'm pretty excited about that.
The timing actually was really good, though. Real estate hasn't slowed down at all. But there are people who are investing who have slowed down because they think that making deals will be harder, and it's not. If you are a landlord and you have a tenant, that might be hard because those renters might be having issues with paying rent or having issues with getting into a place they can start paying rent just because of the current climate. So, but outside of that, you'll be fine. If you got an event space, it probably, considering you ain't got no overhead right now, right? You're just holding on to the spot until you're ready.
Right, just lights, rent.
Just paying bills.
Yeah.
As long as you can afford those bills, by the time you're up, you're going to be good for it.
Well, definitely.
But that's dope, bro, man. Congrats on that. And then we got a new brother on the podcast, my man Deshaun, my brother. Kind of give us your rundown, man. Kind of tell the people a little bit about yourself, my man.
What's going on, man? I'm stressed, man. Be honest with you, bro. I'm stressed. I work in education as a dean of a charter school, and I just got off a call before jumping into the podcast, and I thought it would be encouraging and comforting, and it turned out to be a lot more emotionally toiling than I expected it. I'm also a father, and George Floyd had a young daughter who's around the age of my daughters. I had trouble sleeping, man. It's crazy. It's tough, man. But overall, I'm doing well. I'm going to try to use my creative gifts, my music and things like that to try to definitely get some messages out there and push some encouragement and some galvanizing of my people through the art. So I'm in the studio now trying to figure out some stuff, man. But the heart is heavy. The heart is heavy, bro.
Yeah, man. Most definitely. I think using this time, man, with everything that's going on to turn it into an opportunity to shed light and to do something positive. So wanted to kind of really talk. I mean, we were going to wait to do another episode, and a lot of things have been happening in regards to our community. And what we're here to really talk about is basically, man, a situation and a problem for our people in our community that's been an issue for as long as our people have been in this country. It's terrible. Our people continue to be targeted when it comes to racist violence, regardless if it's the police or what I would like to call the enforcement arm of white supremacy, the police. This was a state-sponsored killing, is what I like to refer to these things as, because like there's no way, not that I'm like expected or become desensitized to it, but I think more so for me, it's just like I've been awake to the game that's been happening and the kind of war zone that our people are in. We're in a war zone. This is what a race war looks like. Like what people thought a race war was, is not necessarily like what it is. This is actually a race war. When you have like a specific group of people being abused and victimized and attacked consistently for no apparent reason besides the fact that they're Black, that's a race war. It's become a race war. Regardless if it's the police, regardless if it's, militias, KKK, just white supremacists, whoever. The violence that our people are subject to, and I want to make this very clear, I am not here to beg for white people to change their hearts or change their minds. I'm not here to get, our government to do anything. I'm here more focused on like we as Black people have had this problem and it's been an issue. But at this point, it's like, how much longer are we going to allow these kind of things to go unanswered? I like to use this term, and you guys can kind of comment on this if you want. They hate you because you are Black, but they brutalize you because you are powerless. There is no consequences for doing these things to Black people. So as long as there's no consequences for doing these things to Black people, these things will continue to happen to Black people.
Well, what you talking about, like you say, is war. I look at it as history repeat itself. You got to really realize our parents, our grandparents went through a lot coming through the civil rights time when they didn't have a lot of rights. Now we have rights, but it's done differently. They take advantage because they know they may have the money or things like that. They have to certain people in certain positions. So they take advantage of that. To me, it's like history repeat itself. Talk about something like this, it's very touchable because think about it, as a father with Black men growing up, I know we have nephews, cousins, or whatever. You always think about like, what if that was me, or what is that my son when Trayvon got killed? Or you think about stuff like this, and it touches inside. Like it's very emotional, and sometimes you get so angry you want to punch something. You frustrated, and you like, when are we gonna ever learn? When we gonna ever get past this? It's one of them things that's I don't see gonna never go nowhere because you got young people that's growing up with hate in their hearts, that's growing up in families like you say, you got people say, oh, it's not racism nowhere. No, you still got racism. You get, I hate to say it like this, you still got white people that do not like Blacks, period. And then they got kids and grandkids growing up under them that's gonna think the same thing. So guess what? It's always gonna be generation after generation that's gonna keep going and going until we all, as Blacks, Black men or Black women or color or however you want to say it, come together as one eventually and just say, hey, enough is enough.
I'll tell you this, when other races, when things like this happen to other racial groups, Asians, whether it be Arabs, there is a consequence for crossing their people. Jewish people, y'all see them. You can't do that kind of stuff to Jewish people. You can't. The reason why, they have resources. They have money. They have finances. They have industries. They have communities that are built up. The reason why we are targeted, besides the fact that because Black people, they just hate it. They just hate Black people. It's just been like that. America hates Black people. You can't tell me anything different because the evidence has been here before.
Yeah, I'm not saying nothing different. I'm saying we have resources. We just need to use our resources. As Black people, we got to stop being hateful towards each other. Right now, it's 5 of us on the line. We get along just fine. But guess what? It's 5 of us. We need to reach out to another Black man or another Black woman. We need to reach out to another person. Because, dog, my thing is, we hate each other so much, but we come together when something happened against us with another race. My thing is, if we stay together all the time, they don't have no power over us. But when we are divided, they love that because they like, hey, we are so divided now. They got power over us because they gonna like, hey, we can separate them. We got power. My thing is, as Black people, we have to come together as one. We got to stop hating each other, stop killing each other, stop fighting each other. We can have arguments and disagreements every once in a while. That's part of human nature. But we have to come together, start doing something and sticking together because guess what? The ones that hate us, they stick together all the time. That's my thing. We have to come together and start doing things together and start showing that we are stronger. We got numbers. We got people in certain places that got power. We got lawyers. We got doctors. We got everybody. We got people out there. We just got to stick together. That's my thing. I don't know, Fonz, you got something to say about that?
It's a very touchy topic. And now I look at it as, I mean, I can't 100% say that. I think the image of the Black person in America is just bad. You know, like every race has an image of them. Like if I say Spanish, you look at a Mexican dude working hard for the minimum wage. If I say Arab dude, first thing coming to your mind is the gas station. If I say African, you have an idea of African. So when I say Black, the first image that comes to a person's mind is a thug dude. When I say Black man, first image that comes to mind is the thug dude. So, and I think changing that image would change the way we're portrayed in America, period. Let's say like I'm not 100% sure that if the media, if that what happened in Minnesota, if it didn't go as big as it did, I'm not sure the world would be reacting the way they did. So you got to also decide who's following or who's really passionate about what's going on. Because some people just following the emotion and taking the victim role. When a person that's just a lead and activist is going to be doing stuff, whether somebody's kneeling on somebody's neck or it's just this Black dude on the corner struggling to get a job, they're going to be acting regardless of what's going on. So there's a lot of people that all of a sudden want to go into activism that have been doing nothing before. They're doing it to be a
and that's a
follower.
problem. That is a problem. That is a big time problem we have in our community. Because what I'll say is this: I said when it comes to what you see on TV as far as the riots, I don't call those riots. I call those reactions. Those aren't riots.
Stupidity.
A riot is when you see white people burn down cars because they won the Super Bowl, or because their football team lost, they start cutting themselves. That's a riot. What we're watching is a reaction.
Do you think it's the smartest reaction?
It's a start. It's not the end all be all. It shouldn't end there. It's just good for getting us together. But I can't say that they're bad people because they're expressing their frustration and anger. Because most of the people are peacefully protesting. There is a small group of people who are running into Target and Walmart. But that's not. But once again, anytime Black people do anything to empower ourselves or to revolt, it's going to seem negative regardless. There's nothing we can do as Black people. Understand this. And this is the social construct of racism. There's nothing we as Black people can do to make them comfortable besides accept our oppression. That's the only way we will make them comfortable. That's the only way. There's nothing we can do besides accept oppression that will make them comfortable.
I can't say if they would accept what Bob Joe in California, that Black person, but I will say it starts with us. So if I change who I am, I don't worry about the world just yet. If I work on me and I work on how I present myself, maybe I might not change the world, but my community I can change by being an example of what a Black person should look like.
I agree. Yes, I agree. We need to stop begging for acceptance. See people posting memes and posting all types of stupid captions and comments talking about where are your white friends, tell your white friends this, white friends tell you all your ancestors or whatever. No, stop that crap. It's not happening. There's videos of Negroes singing, "We shall overcome," all this other nonsense. What is that going to do? This is what Black people need to do. Stop looking for acceptance. Understand the game. Understand where you're living. You're living in a war zone. Race. The term racism comes from the word race. Race is competition for resources. This is what race came from. Dr. Claude Anderson talks about this. It was a race to the Americas. It was a race to the West Indies to get resources. So the reason why Black people are able to get brutalized and attacked consistently is because, Dwayne, contrary to what you said, we don't have resources. We have a few black people who got money. We got a few black people who got this here. We need to build ourselves. We need to build our community so we can control the politics. We can control the education. We can control our own media, and then we will be powerful. But we're not powerful when you got Don Lemon. What are you talking about? Don Lemon? That's our mouthpiece for Black America? Van Jones is our mouthpiece for Black America? Seriously. Tyler Perry? Come on, bro. Think about this stuff, man. Look, these are the clowns that speak for us. And you expect you think that's
one John, I'm gonna say, hold up. Nobody speaks for me. I'm gonna tell you that for nobody speaks for me. I speak for myself. I'm not gonna never say Tyler.
For you.
I'm not gonna say Tyler Perry speaks for me or anybody Oprah or anybody speaks for me. I speak for myself. Okay, that's one. We have to speak for ourselves. We always rely and saying this person is speaking for me. They not speaking for you. You got to speak for yourself.
They speaking for them.
We the one put them up there on a pedestal. But
are y'all understanding? Are you understanding what I'm saying? Are y'all understanding what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying.
Slow down. Everybody, slow down. I need everybody to slow down. No, let's take it back. The reason why we are oppressed, right? Racism is a system. Black people need to have independent systems in place. Don Lemon, Van Jones, et cetera, et cetera. This is specifically media. They are put up there, not by us. We didn't put them up there. Understand? We didn't put them up there. The white people put them up there to be the buffer, to assume that that's what black people think and that's what black people believe, and to regurgitate their talking points to us so we get on the treadmill. And I'm not talking about stop. No, Dwayne, not on an individual basis. We're talking about on a macro basis for black people on a macro basis.
I am. I'm talking about a macro basis. What you talking about, John? I'm talking about macro basis. Thing is, we follow them. When Tyler Perry produced the movies, we jumped on it. We followed because we like, as a black man producing a movie, we put it out there. So, okay, I'm not saying he speaks for me. He don't speak for everybody else. He's just that popular figure that's out there. The people that speak for us is the people that's hard working, like Deshaun, the teachers, that's the dean, the ones that's at the school. They're the ones that are speaking for us. They're the ones that's showing the face, that's doing the representation for most of us that's not out there. Because I don't look at celebrities like everybody else. Some people do. Some people love looking at celebrities and the first thing they're like, oh, this person doing this person doing that. Right. I don't care about what they're doing.
Yeah, I don't want to get
about what I'm doing.
I don't want to get too. Hold on, brothers. I don't want to get too off into talking about specifically celebrities because they're just like trinkets. They're just like little things. Like it's more devoid of like the actual issue that we actually have as a community.
Can I
they're just figures. I'm more so talking about the structure and the systems that we need to have that are our own. And we need to have people running them who are not people who were presented to us, but people we appoint.
Yo, let me
can I ask a question? Before you present your idea, I want to hear what Deshaun. I want to get his perspective because
because he's actually working with he's around them on
a regular space.
Yeah, so I mean, we've been talking a lot, so I have reactions to a few things. I think working in education for a few years now, going back to something Fonz brought up regarding just this idea of like the stupidity that's associated with like riots or reactions. I think what we got to be careful about is like assuming that there is a level of privilege or access to education or resource that would give another option. Now, I'm not condoning riots or the reactions, but let's really look at the situation. This man clearly murdered somebody on camera. We saw it, and he was not arrested immediately. But now national attention starts to rise and heighten, and then finally we get an arrest. Right now, we don't know if we're going to get the conviction we desire, but we do get an arrest. I don't think that breaking into stores and destroying your neighborhood is always going to be the answer, but I'd be wrong if I said it wasn't giving attention to a situation and to a hurt and to an imbalance to people that might not have access to or might not know how to appropriately access.
Deshaun, I want you to comment on something else.
On what?
That could not have been the first time that's happened out there. It's just the first time it was on camera.
Right. And then I actually was listening to an interview with my son, who's a hip hop figurehead, but he's also out there in the community. He actually flew out to Minnesota. And what my son was saying, he was like, I'm in the streets. And he said, let me let you know something. The news is reporting in a way that will justify murder of Black people. Because watch this. If they report this level of violence and make it look like all of these riots that are incited are continuing, that's what it looks like across the city. What ends up happening is now your president, he has the freedom, so to speak, for the safety of the people to not execute martial law, which then causes more execution of Black people that will be justified. But what my son is saying is these are news outlets owned by white supremacists that want to put this image out there. He said 9 out of the 10 protests that are happening when you walk through the street are peaceful ones.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
That
the
because
media. We don't have independent media.
Right.
That's what I'm saying, bro. We don't have our own media.
Right, because the violent ones, they're going to get the president to tweet, look at these thugs and all this other stuff. What ends up happening is now there's this perpetuation of this image that when Black people are upset, this is the only thing they do when there are actually thousands of peaceful protesters that are out there, right? So that's just me speaking to that. I don't think like riots are always the answer, but I think we got to tread lightly when we think about who's rioting to that degree and what's around them that provides a resource to say, hey, I can fill out this petition and I can make an educational assessment that this makes sense. They got messed up schools. They got poverty. When trauma hits, you don't think straight. And I'm not making an excuse. This is traumatic. That happens and you don't think straight. It's true that it's not smart, but it'd be a lie to say it's not gaining the attention in the
I can't understand. And the thing to think about, and America's hypocritical in this aspect. This country was founded by a riot starting.
Party, whatever you want to get into.
This country was founded off of a riot. The funny thing is, like, when white people, they come to the state building with guns, AKs, ARs, with guns. That same city a week ago had a bunch of white people with ARs, all that stuff, and they're protesting their freedoms and their liberties. And no police, no bunch of people in riot gear standing outside. Nothing like that. None of it. I get what you're saying, Fonz, when you made that comment, but I will tell you, brother, it's not as simple as we like to make it seem that if we just act right or we just change our image. No, the revolution is not pretty. So we will make mistakes on the path to revolution, but if we're going to start, we got to start somewhere. The riot is not the answer. No, hell no, it's not. I'm not going to say that's the answer. No, but it's a start. It's a start. It's a start.
So what we all kind of fail to do is really dial this back to really what this is. So we were brought here, and today, technically, we are still slaves. Basically, the system that was put in place in order to take control of this country and make this land theirs is literally the same system that's here today, regardless of how the government's changed, laws, Declaration of Independence, and all that. Everything is still basically the same. And the only way we could actually see things like everything change is if there was a real and true regime change. We occupied 12 to 13% of this country. And regardless of how you put it, there is no way that our 12 to 13% by itself, if we were completely unified, that we could actually change this country. It's not going to happen. You can't. We have to rely on someone else unless we actually figure out a proper way to change the regime. And that goes for police brutality. That goes to the resources that we don't have or that's not spread around. That goes to everything. And at that point, racism, at least in a macro format, doesn't quite matter because now the majority is at the whim of the minority because the minority has managed to change the regime. Now, specifically when it comes to how we're reacting to police brutality, we're in a hamster wheel. We're doing the same thing over and over and over. Now, I'm never going to say that a riot is a bad idea because for us, it's for lack of a better action. So I'm not going to sit here, as stupid as it is and as negative as it makes us look, I'm still not going to say that it's a bad thing, even though it's kind of dumb, because it is a reaction. It's a reaction. It is we are tired, and we do not have a formal way of making you do something that's morally correct. So we will burn this bitch down. Now, we don't even do a good job of that because they fix the shit right back up. It's business as usual in a few weeks or whatever, and we move on to something else. But the thing is that when all of the things that we've done so far, protesting, rioting, crying, all this, like, to be honest, it does not work. All we are doing is yelling. There is no plan in place. And even if there was, there's no action. So we just keep doing the same thing over and over. We're hurting. People know that. There's a problem. People know that. There isn't anything that's going on that will actually make, let's say in police brutality's case, that would make another officer who would be prone to that kind of violence take a step back and say, I need to handle this differently. That's not happening. Now, small steps that could be taken, let's just say, if we're talking specifically police brutality, small steps that could be taken would be to figure out a way to make fundamental changes, starting with how easy it is to become a goddamn cop. Like, that shit is easy. 2, there needs to be a literal police oversight department that is like internal affairs, but it specifically has to do with policing and how they're doing their job. That does not have anything to do with actual police being on that part of that department. It has to be unbiased. There needs to be people with law degrees in that particular department who can literally come down on anyone that's not actually doing their job correctly. That goes beyond police brutality. That means you just literally not doing your job correctly. Number 3, police in its form, what it's supposed to be, they don't do for anybody, to be honest, as far as protecting and serve. And the police that are here are not from those communities, which, to be honest, is literally an invasion. If you turn it around and make those officers, whatever beat, whatever neighborhood, whatever region they're working, make them insert themselves into the community, you change the whole relationship. Some of those communities, because you have to think about it like this, on a county level, in terms of voting, our votes actually are currency, because there are counties that have high populations of Black people, and there are other counties that don't. But when you go to a state and federal level, that shit is so far untrue. It doesn't matter what state, doesn't matter the whole country, it doesn't matter what state, we are always the minority when you get that far. But on a local level, there are concentrations of us in different places where our votes literally are currency. In those places are the places where you could literally start to actually make fundamental changes to law enforcement, where there's evidence that these things work better, meaning that crime rates go down, the relationship between police and the public change, and no one else can actually deny it. And it has to start to be adopted everywhere else. That's typically what happens with anything when something changes. But we, along with other people, literally just cry all the time. Like, that's our thing. We cry a lot, but we don't necessarily think about what could be done, considering how far back we are. Like, to be honest, if we don't have a real plan for regime change, we might as well leave. We were brought here. And pretty much the same thing that happened when we brought here is pretty much the same thing that's happening right now. It's literally the same thing. And the only reason they keep getting by is because they change shit a little bit to make us feel like we're getting something. Like, we're getting somewhere because all of a sudden slavery is over. Or we're getting somewhere because they are no longer indentured servitude. Or we're getting somewhere because the civil rights movement happened and Jim Crow is gone. It's like, man, come on. All they're doing is just changing the game. Because they still oppress us. These dudes are professional athletes to make a stupid amount of money and still can't make fundamental decisions about what they do with their lives. That should tell you something. And everything y'all said about the media is absolutely true. Everything you said about the media, like, the people that we listen to are the people that were put in place by somebody else, not us. But that won't happen. Like, here, it's not going to happen. It can't happen. If one of you decided to, I don't know, take over somebody's house, and you plan to take over their house for a very long period of time, the first thing that you will do is make sure that the people in that house cannot rise up. It means no matter what their status is in that home, they can't beat you. And then to hold on to that house, you have to continuously think of ways to leave it so that they cannot beat you, which means leaving them at a deficit. If it's for long periods of time, you make sure that programming sticks. It has for us. It's absolutely stuck. You got to think America is a place that does not literally have a culture. All these other minorities from other places that come here, they come from cultures that are ancient. They have something to hold on to. Even if they assimilate to being in America, there's a lot that they do not lose because they actually have a culture and we don't. We got completely separated, and 99% of us cannot tell you where exactly we come from. We can't. That is pathetic. Coupled with that, slavery it made it so easy for them to generationally program us. Like, we're literally doing what they want us to do right now. Is we think we're getting somewhere, but no, like, we're not. We absolutely are not, because we're not actually presenting action in the same way. When slavery happened and there were revolts and replaces these different things, they had to switch everything up.
Kenny,
they had to switch everything up.
Kenny, guess what? The best form of slavery is the one where it doesn't require change. That's the best form of slavery. That's the most efficient way of slavery. If you get yourself to be complicit in your own oppression and you're programmed to do so, we're celebrating. Think about this. Our people celebrate when we have the first Black person to do anything, to be on some board or to work for some government or work for some white-owned company.
First Black person to drink a Sprite. We're all celebrating.
Yeah.
But you got to look at that. That's progress, though, to me.
That's not progress, Dwayne.
No.
That's not progress, bro.
Listen, when you break a color barrier, sometimes you got to break that color barrier.
I don't want to break a color barrier.
You got to.
I don't want to.
What? You're not going to survive unless you break this color barrier, because everybody want to say, oh, I'm going to stick with my Black folks. I'm going to do that. Man, guess what?
That's not what I'm saying.
As much as y'all talk about Martin Luther King, one thing he said, we'll all be as one.
And he also said,
that's what he wants.
You know what he said after that?
What else?
I fear I have integrated my people into a burning house.
True. True. Because before you go, Sean, I feel that we always going to think that we always in slavery. But the thing is, we have too much opportunity to do something. A lot of us don't take a chance of that opportunity. We let it go by. That's why I feel like we have this discussion over and over, because due to the fact we do not take a chance or take advantage of the opportunities we have. We have to step up and do what we got to do. We keep complaining about certain things like, oh, they keep depressing us. Do something about it. Like Fonz, I know Fonz probably had a plan. He said, I know he probably something around say, hey, we need to do something about it. I work with young kids because I do a lot of training and everything, but I try to mentor them young men. Mentor them. Hey, life is not going to be easy. Nothing's going to be given to you. First of all, if you're an educated Black man, it's not going to be given to you. You got to earn it. You got to go and get it. You can't be sitting back and it's like, okay, I'm going to let him get it. Guess what? Somebody else is going to pass you. The only reason I respect Fawn so much because he's a go-getter. He's a go-getter. And I respect that because you're not going to sit back. He's not sitting back and let somebody else take what he could get. And I feel like as Black people, we need to stop sitting back and complaining and start stepping up and doing something.
You're not wrong, but here's the thing. The fact that we cannot work within the same confines as the people that stole this country should tell you right there that literally we're just working with what they give us. If you do the same job as the next man that works for the same company that you do and he happens to be non-Black, you know for yourself that you have to do way more in order to seem like you are more valuable than that guy, and you still might not get that promotion just because you're Black. And that is real. And my only point about everything in terms of us being free and in terms of us having opportunity and all these different things is it's not as free as we think, because we still can't do it the same way that they can. We can't. We can take those opportunities and we can still try to make sure that we're passing down these same opportunities. But the one thing that's not changing is those opportunities mean more to us than it does to the person who's not Black, than it does to the person who's white. The reason that a lot of these white people don't know that there's white privilege, that should tell you right there for anybody. The reason that a lot of those white people don't know about white privilege is because they are set up so damn high already. Already. We know about white privilege because we see it, because we're already behind. You literally have a bunch of white people who are ignorant to the fact that there's white privilege, that it is not their fault. Like, you can't even argue with them about it. It's not their fault. It's because they're already on the pedestal. The way that it is in this country from day one, And so that you don't even know that you have white privilege. That's how easy it is.
I think the thing is that, and I'll let Deshaun and Fawn start real quick, but I think the thing
Yeah,
is that
you get it.
I get what y'all are saying in regards to we have to do better. That's why I'm saying what I'm saying is because this system, racism is a system. We're fighting against a system, a construct. So in order to fight the construct, we have to work outside of the construct. We have to have things that are independently functioning that we own. The reason why Jews don't get oppressed and get brutalized and get beat in the street by cops, Arabs. Again, this is a perfect example. Arabs. Our country calls those countries terrorist cells, but you don't see them getting beat in the street like we do. You don't see them getting abused like we do. Why? Because they own their own communities. They control everything in their communities. They control their own schools. They control their own hospitals, their churches, their temples, whatever you want to call it. They own and control and dictate what happens in their community because it's independent. It's devoid of any outside influence. That's what Black people need. We need to follow that model because our people spend trillions of dollars a year, and we can do it, but we have to get the mind state that we're not here to make friends with any other group. We're not here to be accepted by America or any other group. We're just here to get our piece of the pie, just like how everybody else thinks. And if we have that mentality, these things will go away because we could buy the police off. We could buy the district attorney off. We could buy the governor off. That's politics, if we're going to be honest. Voting is not politics. Voting is just a process. But politics is when you have money and you have lobbyists and you have power, political power, is in the finances. So we concentrate on building our own outside of this crappy, racist, demonic system called the United States. We will see things change. Y'all go ahead.
I wanted to say that I think that, like, to Dwayne's point, what I do agree with is not removing work ethic. And I don't want you to confuse, like, the idea of hard work, funds, going and getting it, you know what I mean? Going, making investments that make sense for you and building up wealth for your family and for your household. I think the issue is that, and I agree with Jaye, is that too many of our resources are connected or have ties to things that feed the white community. So what happens is, something that used to happen in slavery was that, like, yo, if I behave or if I do this well enough, I get brought into the house, or I get a better job. I become a servant to the master. And then what ends up happening is, as their servant, I now develop this mindset that splits me from the people that are in the field, when in fact, we're all in the same situation. But now I have a little, right. So now I have a little more resource than you do. It ain't much, but I got a little more resource than you do. But the resource I'm getting, all my ties are still connected to something that feeds another community or feeds into the economic empowerment of another community. And I think that's still same thing that's happening today. So as much as we try to, like, move away from this idea of, like, oh, we got to get over slavery, I think, like, its footprints are still so present in things like that. Like, you see somebody, I seen it in my family, bro. I seen it in my own family. People get better jobs, they get a couple degrees, and it's like, yo, they detach themselves from the needs of the people that didn't have the same access or that they did. I know people that are working hard as hell. I know people working very, very hard. And hey, maybe they need more mentorship in how to spend their money. Maybe they need more guidance. But I know hard workers that have tried to make certain investments and things like that. It just doesn't work out for them the same way. They hit these walls that are hard to explain. But if I was white, they're easy to get through. I say this, like, I agree with you, Dwayne, to the sense of we have to continue to instill in our children and ourselves the idea of work ethic. Like, we got to go out and get it. I applaud all of you guys. I'm out here getting it, making it happen for my family and whatnot. I think we get so settled when it's like, my family's straight, that we don't realize on a macro level, at a much broader lens, there's still, like, big groups of Black people that have the grades that another white kid has or another kid of another race has, but they're not getting into the same schools. Like, for instance, like, as you know, I work in education. Last year, there was this whole big uproar in the city of Brooklyn because 2 of our specialized schools, who have thousands of kids, had only let in, I think, like a cumulative, like, 10 Black children. But mind you, their incoming class was like almost 3,000 kids. It was like somewhere like 7 to 10. It was a ridiculous number. I mean, teachers, we were in a uproar, bro. Like a uproar. It was like, wait, what? Are you kidding me? And what they found as they started digging and doing the research, they started realizing like, yo, this kid and that kid got the same test results. This kid and that kid got the same. It's like, why'd you take him? That's when it becomes something that's like, how do you reconcile this idea that telling somebody that hard work is it? It's like, it's hard work, but it requires some level of like unity within financial systems, like policing and education, like our schools, even the way like people of faith, like how their churches are run. It can't come through all this government money because those are white people. So now you can't even make decisions that are true to Christ because you got to make decisions that are influenced by a lot of white money that may not make the right decision. Like you want to do a school this way, but you can't because the government says, yo, we gave you money to do this, or we gave you this 501c3 to do this. So even like in faith-based institutions where there are leaders with integrity, but that have their hands tied because of how money or finance is coming to them. So to Jay's point, it's more of a like macro systemic level, like the idea of understanding opening a school and teaching them what we want them to know. Housing communities, literally having mom and pop shops that are funded by us, and that dollar keeps circling. That's a whole different level of power. Now we fund the candidates that we want to see in offices that's going to say, yo, I'm going to make this change, but I can do this because we put you there, not with just our votes, but with our money. We paid for your campaign. We put you there. I just let you come speak at my church on a Sunday and get our votes. I put you there. We raised that money. That's a whole different ball game than just my family is straight. And because I worked hard. It's more than that. And I think that's where like the divide happens. You know what I'm saying?
Amen. Go ahead, Fonz. Talk to him.
This is what I want to say, man. Listening to everything that was said. I believe the big change happens is the mindset of our people. I can say money. I can say we got to do this. I can say we got to do that. We got to do this. We got to do that. But if the mindsets do not change, I don't care what information. Oh, you got me finished, John. You got me finished, man.
I'm about to big you up, though. I said the mindset has to, but listen, the mindset has to change first. You were all right. Before we could get to that, yes, the mindset got to change, bro. I agree with what you're saying. That's got to change before we can change anything else.
Because if new information in the same mind is going to be processed into the same old information because the mindset haven't changed. So in my mind, if I believe that I'm oppressed, I'm going to do it's 3 words: be, do, have. Whatever I believe I am, whatever I be, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to have the results, whatever I believe that I'm doing. I'm going to always believe that I'm oppressed. I'm going to always believe that I'm up under a system. I'm up under a white man. But if I went to money, no white people print the money, so it'll always be their money. And money itself is still just an idea. We give the value to money. Money don't give us value. We give the value to money. So money is not even more valuable than us. Whether it's white, black, green, Arab, Chinese, we give the value to the money through our mindsets. We give the value to the media for them to show us looking a certain way. Listen, if we really wanted to change something, we would ban rap. If we really wanted to change, we would ban rap. We say, you know what? We want to boycott something, boycott some of the rap music. Because most of that shit is what the black community, the kids look up to. And they put that shit is always on the TV screen. And you listen to the message in that shit is what's oppressing us. They telling us we got to live like this, we got to act like this, we got to be like this. We look at somebody that's not like that, like, well, I don't know. Reason why we don't got more bankers, because a lot of the kids want to be fucking rappers or slam basketballs or throw footballs. That's what they grow up dreaming to be, because they don't look into the community and see the dude that's saying, yeah, he's got a good voice for saying we should do this, we should do that. But kids look at what you're doing, yo. They look at, are you an example of your message, or you just got a good message? Because if you got a good message, there's going to be kids that hear you, but not a lot of them is going to follow. Because they're going to go, what the hell are you doing? If you want to change, don't preach change, change. And you will change the world. The first place that you want to make a big change, start with 3 feet in front of you. What is in front of me right now that I can change? Starting with myself. Am I thinking like I'm oppressed? Am I walking this world like a slave? When I see a white person, because my mind is oppressed, I'm oppressed by white people. When I see one, do I automatically subconsciously put them above me and don't even know that I do it. So when I look in the street, I see the riots. The weakness of the black man is his anger. And if I was at war, I would study my opponent. And if my opponent's weakness is anger, I'm going to use it against him just so I can win. So if a white person look at us and go, wow, look at them. Boy, they're so angry. They do very crazy things when they're angry. All I got to do to control them is make them angry. I tell you what, take that image. No, don't play the image of the Arab getting beat up by the cop. Don't play that image. No. Don't play the image of the white man getting beat up by the white cop. No. Play the image of the white cop beating up the black. Hey, put that shit out there. Because, it's not causing uproar.
Does that image exist?
Does that image
Beating the white man, does that image exist? I think to Jay's point.
It exists. Listen, you live in New York. I lived in New York. I've seen it happen. I've seen a white cop.
I'm not saying it doesn't ever happen.
It's not. I'm saying it's not publicity shown to the world.
In the same numbers? In the same frequency?
Listen, who's writing these numbers, man? We don't know.
No, I'm talking about everybody's got camera phones. No, everybody's got camera phones, right?
I agree. I agree. It exists.
Let me finish. I let everybody.
It exists.
It exists, but it's just not. It's not video.
Listen to what I'm saying.
It exists.
The media knows what's going to get the. I'm not bigging up. I'm not saying what happened was right. Don't mistake that. I'm not saying us as black people don't get harmed by police. I've been lifting you and got searched and frisked for no reason. I know what it's like. But they also do that based on the black. And it's sad to say this, and I'm not saying that is right. But if you want to fix it, or if you want to protect your family from it, you got to know the game and you got to know the opponent. Because if I sit there and say what they shouldn't do, what they need to do, what they ought to do, but I ain't doing shit, then it's going to keep getting done to me. And I'm always walk this world like I'm smaller than a fucking system, man. Fucking system. If I go to money, if I say money is a mindset. It's a mindset. Ain't got nothing to do with work. There's drug dealers that make an ass load of money. It's a mind. If I can adopt, check this out. And I know this may go against what we're talking about. But if I thought, I'll say, what the fuck does the white man think about? Like, they walked into our country, oh shit. Well, they came to the US and they tried to take it by force. Give me this motherfucking country. Right, okay, whatever. But then I'll stop and think and go, yo, what exactly is they thinking? How do they have so much quote, quote, power? And do they really have the power? Now, is it harder for a black man to do certain things in this country? Hell yeah. But look at a retarded kid. Look at a kid that got no arms and no legs. He's still finding a way. And he's not walking the road complaining, going, poor me, I don't have arms and legs. He goes, you know what? This is what it is, but it's not going to stop me from doing shit. I'm going to open the door. I'm going to drive a car. I'm going to fucking work a job. If we allow it to stop us, then it's going to stop us, man.
Check this out.
Can I say something?
Hold on 1 second, Dwayne, because this is about what you said. No, you can unmute it.
Hey, I'm ready to get me.
No, check this out. No, Dwayne, unmute. Go ahead, unmute, Dwayne, because this is not going to take but a second. So, fundamental things that both of you and Dwayne were both saying, like, there is nothing wrong about any of that. Like, those skills are imperative. But we adopt a perspective in general that makes us think that we're free to do whatever the fuck we want. It's not true. So we have to take both of those skills that you're talking about. Dwayne talking about work ethic, working hard, going to get it. Fonz talking about mindset changing and all that. Like, those are extremely important and we should never negate that, ever. However, in terms of perspective, we have to keep in mind that we are still given shit to make us think that we're actually doing something so that they can keep us in a certain place. Like, there's going to be two things that change this country. Two things, like, and this is just logic. One, with the current numbers, meaning this, 13.4% black? With the current numbers, if we figured out how to create a regime change, or we change the numbers where we are no longer the minority. Like, we're not even the majority of the minority right now. Those are the only two things that would change this country. And the one thing about regime change that could possibly hurt us is if we create a regime change where there are black people, or people, they don't necessarily have to be black, but people who are thinking more intrinsically about how to even everything out, but still possibly make it more about us than somebody else, to where now the roles are now flipped. Because I'm not going to sit here and act like if Black people are the most powerful demographic in the country, like that's a good thing. Equality, in my opinion, actual equality, not the shit that people try to make you think is equality, but
I
actual
feel like we're the
equality.
most gifted, though.
Yeah, oh, I mean, but still, like, if you're more talented or more gifted or whatever. But in terms of opportunity, in terms of like actual playing field, in terms of being able to say that everyone can literally actually start in the same place, and by the merits of your own self, you're able to get further ahead, which is what promotes education. Because if you know that you become more educated, that'll help you become more successful. Because the playing field is equal, then increasing education makes sense. But increasing our numbers in terms of becoming a majority is a more secure way of making things change in this country than anything. Because at that point, our vote on a high level, our vote on a national level, and our vote on a state level then becomes currency, because you got to capitulate to what we want, regardless. It don't even matter about money.
Our vote is still currency.
It's not currency everywhere. Your vote counts, but it is not currency. What I'm saying is on a state and a federal level, more times than not, them motherfuckers don't need your vote.
But
they don't
let me say this, Kenny. We not gonna be the majority, of course. We not.
Oh, it's White people not gonna be the majority in about 20, 30, 40
Let me tell you, but let me tell you this. Until we come together as one, we'll never advance.
No one's gonna argue with that. No one's gonna argue with that. Because we can still fuck that up.
Let me tell you this.
We can be 60% of this country and not unify and fuck it all up.
My thing is, check this out. We always talk about how they take advantage of us, like some athletes. Of course, they like, oh, we invest in them. They're gonna make this money. Why we can't flip the script? Okay, you get me right now, but guess what? I'm gonna get you in the long run. We got to start taking advantage of a lot of things we have access to. We got to start taking advantage. I don't care if you start at the bottom. Take advantage of, okay, you taking advantage of me, but guess what? When I get to this point, guess what? The role's going to flip. I'm going to take advantage of you so I can get to where I need. The only reason I'm speaking on this, because when I talk about certain things dealing with the military, when you in the military, trust me, I'm a dominant white. We got a lot of Black kids that go to the military. Everybody will say, oh, there's no place for the military for Black kids. Trust me, the military helps a lot of Black young men change. Some of them need that development to grow. Now, even though you might have somebody higher ranked than you that might be white, guess what? Eventually, I'm like, I'll be there. I was in a situation, I could be honest with you, I was in a situation, being in the military, a guy outright me. He was white. I knew he was racist. Everybody knew that. There's certain things he said, I was like, he wants me to flip. He wants me to react to what he's saying. But I never gave him the time of the day. But guess what? Once I got promoted and he looked at me and I stood dead in his face, I said, please say what you want to say now. Guess what? It changed the aspect. He could not do what he wanted to do because at one point in time, he was like, okay, I outrank you. Now I could tell you to do this. I could disrespect you. But guess what? When I got to that same level, and he realized he could not do that no more. He realized, oh, I'm on this level with you. Now I'm toe-to-toe with you. Now what? Say something. That's what I'm saying. People, we got to take advantage of the opportunities. A lot of times they going to try to force us to do something. They want to push our button. They love pushing our button because guess what? Once they push our button, they record it and say, this is how we react. This is what they do. They don't show the whole story. They just show the clip of reacting to something that happened before. Right now, I feel like
I want y'all to understand something, and we went a little over, but anytime Black people in this country, right? Anytime Black people in this country do anything that is contrary to what American society, what white media, white establishment wants, anytime it's for our benefit, it's going to be unpopular. Because the status quo is to keep Black people down. So, like, most people, majority of Americans didn't like Martin Luther King. They thought he was an uppity Negro. Majority of Americans didn't like Colin Kaepernick kneeling. Majority of Americans didn't like Malcolm X or the Black Panthers. Majority of Americans don't like a lot of things Black people do that benefits Black people. So the popularity contest or worrying about what white people or what the media is going to think or going to say about us, we need to cut that out. because it's not helping us. Trying to appease and trying to wiggle around and try to make ourselves seem better. We are the moral compass of this country. Seriously, Black people are the moral compass of this country. Nobody has done more for this country. Nobody has taken more abuse for this country. No more Americans.
We built this country.
Built this country. African Americans, Black people are the only group of people in this country whose native country has never waged war against America. Italians, you can't say that. British, you can't say that. You can't say that for Germany. You can't say that for any Asian nations. You can't say that for the Spanish. You can't say that for anywhere. You can't say that for any other group of people except for Black people. This idea that we need to do what we can do to make ourselves seem better or nicer or more friendly or whatever, we need to get that thinking out of our mind, because our empowerment is offensive.
But check this out. So, like, literally everything that we're saying, if we take what we're saying right now in terms of things that we know that we need to do and that we should do, even though we're still working in a system that's ultimately not going to let us do what we're capable of. Considering that odds are, between the two things that would obviously change this country, between regime change or just us not being the minority anymore, the one that would change first would be our numbers going up. Now, everything that we said that we should do, if we do that in terms of preparing our whole race to be ready to change this country when we're more powerful, because now we occupy too much of the economy and too much of everything else to be overlooked, then we should do everything that we're talking about. But thinking about it in a perspective is like, all right, I know I could be successful doing these different things, but at the end of the day, even as an entrepreneur, at the end of the day, somebody has something to say about it, and I can't do shit about it. But if we think about really where our power would really come from, this is really how any country changes, doesn't matter which one it is. Increasing our numbers is the one thing that's going to change more than likely, because white people have had a stronghold in this country for, 600 and some change? 600 years? Then we need to be prepared. And that means that, Dwayne, we need to make sure that our work ethic cannot be wavered, and that whatever opportunities and things that we actually can do, that we don't squander those. And that, as far as Iphonzo was talking about, is that we need to change our mindset. Because once we do have those numbers, if our mindset don't change, we're going to be a majority and still be weak as fuck. And like, what country or continent is like that, where the power is in the minority? There really ain't, I can't think of any, where literally the power is in the minority.
You could probably say that white America operates in that perspective right now, and when you talk about all the different ethnic groups that are in this country, combine them all together. But Deshaun, go ahead, bro.
Well, there's still 60%.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers definitely is part of the issue. I think I was also going to address one thing you had said, Jay. You was like, no other racial group or ethnic group, everyone has had their people have some type of revolt, and Africans or Black people identify as Black, are the only ones that have not had anybody revolt at all from their indigenous countries. There's history to that too. You know what I mean? Whether you look at how slaves were acquired, there was a lot of trade-off that Black kings and royalty was complicit in, not intentionally, but there was slavery or indentured servitude when you owed a debt in Africa. And they're not selling their people for guns and resources thinking that their people are going to be treated in the way they were treated with chattel slavery that came through the transatlantic slave trade. So even that is something that we have to understand why it was hard for our people to fight for us, because they were partially complicit in how we got here, even though they didn't know we would be treated that way when we got here. That's one point. But the second thing is, I think to Kenny's point, there's an element of something everybody's saying that I think we all agree with, right? I think there are things that have to, almost like how government works, there's a state, there's a local, there's a state, and there's a federal level. I think there's levels to ways that we can build our own stuff up without deconstructing racism. Like, let's forget racism. How do we build up? And I think some things Fonz is saying is critical. Mindset change, shift, understanding ourselves as divine, understanding ourselves and embracing who we truly are in the image of God and the power we walk with. That's important. Dwayne, that work ethic. And then to Kenny's point, like strategizing, and Jay's point, building wealth and building those things within our community. The difficulty is that these things fall as like different priorities on different people's list. All these things are true and all these things are needed, but they fall as different priorities. So for me as an educator, to talk to your point, Fonz, it's hard to tell a kid like, yo, my 8th grader just graduated with a better GPA than another white kid and tell him, yo, hard work is going to get it because nobody could stop you. Don't worry. Don't look at them as a system. You can do it. And it's like, you can do it. But when that door gets shut in your face, my approach has to be a lot different and more macro and systemic when I'm educating 400 Black and brown kids that see racism take place in their face, even when they're working their behinds off. That's hard to reconcile, and you got to address it in a different way. So these things fall as different priorities, and that's where I think the wedge is in the Black community, because it's like building the economy and business is more important to me. But for me, policy might be more important and shifting how police our neighborhoods and who we have police our neighborhoods. But for me, I'm concerned with what the family structure looks like, because if they break apart the family structure, we're always going to be oppressed financially. Like, it's so many different priorities, even though they're all right. It's like the difficulty is gelling these things to become one. That's where we're challenged as a people, I think. You know what I'm saying?
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, I will say, Greg, the one thing I could agree that the mind state has to be the first thing that changes, because what slavery did is took away our cohesiveness. It took away our purpose. It took away just everything mentally. It castrated us mentally. So the mind state has to change, because then once your mind changes, you understand what exactly needs to be done. We have Stockholm syndrome in our community. We love to run back to the person who beats and abuses and oppresses us. We have to stop that. We got to think collectively and independently. Collectively as a group, we have to have the same mindset. It's not about having a leader. It's not about having one person to tell us what to do. But there's a certain code of ethics that every community actually has, except for Black people. And we don't punish people in our own group for stepping outside of these code of ethics, because there's crime in every community. There's different dysfunctions that are in every community, but there is a code that these communities operate in. We don't have that. So we need to get that. And then we need to, as far as the systemic change, like, I'm not a big on, like, I don't know, population numbers and all this other stuff. Like, I don't get into that. I can only speak for what I know, and what would affect things now would be for Black people to start operating and thinking and working cohesively and independently, because all our quote unquote people who are propped up as heroes to us are all people that we did not select. That includes Barack Hussein Obama. Regardless of how you feel about him, the truth is our lives as Black people didn't improve under him. Not because he's a bad guy. I'm not going to say he's a bad guy, but he is as just a part of the system as a John McCain or George Bush or anybody is. There's only so much that we can do in regards to looking at leaders appointed to us. What we need to do, we don't need a leader. We don't need another Dr. King to come through the door. We don't need another Malcolm X to come through the door. We don't need another Marcus Garvey to come through the door. We need to have an understanding of what things are necessary for a community to function. What are those things?
We need an agenda. We need an agenda.
Schools, media, education, business, industries. When I say industries, things that you make and produce, that you export and import. That's what's going to change, because, like, if another Black person never has to go to a white company for a job again, that would drastically change things in this country. Because now you're talking about wealth. Now you're talking about resources. Now you're talking about real equality. Equality is not me going into Chase or going into one of these white-owned corporations, handing my resume, and I get hired as the first Black person. That's not equality. Equality means y'all got Chase, I got the Black Bank of Charlotte. I got the Black independently owned hospital. I got the Black colleges that are funded by Black people, not by the state, not by the state. No, not by the state of North Carolina, not by the state of New York.
Benedict Private Home College.
That. You want to know what equality is? Is when Black people have private institutions, white people have private institutions, Asian people have private institutions that they own and control. That is equality. That is the only equality I want to talk about. Any other equality outside of that is not equality. It's tokenism.
Can I say one thing? I know we went over to that with the supporting of the Black colleges and stuff. The problem that I feel is a lot of us Blacks are not supporting the Black colleges anymore. That's why you have some of the closures, like Barber Scotia, they had to close because schools was not funded by Blacks no more, because we are going to, as they say, the PWIs. I'm not knocking. Education is education. When you get your education wherever you get it, hey, I'm happy for you. I don't care where you get your education from. But it's just the thing. A lot of us Blacks are not supporting the Black colleges like they used to at one point in time when that was the only place they was able to go. I see the changes when, like our parents say, they see the changes when we only could go to one school. Everybody was all for it. But now when things start opening up and we're able to go to other places, we forget about where we came from. We forget about the where we started from, because we up here. Like Deshaun said, he done seen people that was working, and when they got to a certain level, they detached themselves. We forget where we came from. And that's what I feel like that's a problem with a lot of us Black. We forget where we started from. Some of us started from the wave at the bottom, and then when they got to the top, I understand you happy. I'm finally made it. I'm up here. I got money. I got means. I can take care of my family. But don't forget where you came from. The people that had your back when you was at the bottom is the people that gonna have your back regardless when you got the riches.
That's part of that code. That's part of that code.
You know what I'm saying?
I was talking about.
So
when you make it to a certain point, yeah, bro.
You know what?
Yeah.
I'm glad, Dwayne. I'm glad you said that, because
that's good. He said that, yo. That's excellent, yo.
It relates to kind of what Deshaun was saying, or what I was thinking when he's talking about what we prioritized. And to be honest, because of the way that we got here and the way that we've pretty much kind of gotten to ourselves into society, part of our problem is that most of us are selfish. We prioritize me and mine before everything else. So even when shit is fucked up, it's like, well, it ain't fucked up for me, so like I'm gonna keep doing this because it's working for me. That's what both of you said, priority and remembering where you came from. Part of the reason why these other minorities, when they get here, they're able to do so much is their code is not to forget. Their code is not to assimilate. So they get here and think about it, yo. We were brought here, we were slaves. You have all these other minorities that came here with nothing, and a lot of them prospered beyond recognition. And a lot of it has to do with not losing what they came from, not just prioritizing themselves, not forgetting where they came from. And because of it, their success is a lot of other people's success as well. And we don't do that at all. We have in small groups. And when we have, guess what the hell happened? We got fucking bombed. It happened in Rosewood. It happened in Tulsa. It happened in Black Wall Street.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Anytime Black people empower themselves, it's going to be offensive.
So what does that tell you, though? But what does that tell you about us? They recognize.
Yes.
They recognize.
Yeah, they know.
We are
They know,
powerful. We got completely detached from a whole fucking continent to the point that we don't know where we come from. We know we come from a general part of the damn globe, and we cannot narrow it down any further. However, they still know that if they don't put their fucking knee on our neck and try to kill us, we're going to do some real ass shit. Like, you can't control this for long. Like, this is work for them. If anybody thinks that it's easy for these white folks to control us, nah, it's not easy. These motherfuckers are working hard as hell. They are working hard as hell to keep us somewhere. They're going to slip up, but we can't. Like, we still have to keep fighting. We have to fight the right way. Like, we can't just keep crying. Oh, somebody else died and we're crying about it. Like, no, we have to do something.
Yeah, bro. Most definitely, bro. So this is not going away, so we're going to have to do another part of this. But y'all leave y'all lasting thoughts, man. Iphonzo, go ahead, brother. You could start it off or hit it off for us.
For sure, man. First of all, thank y'all for having me, man. It's been a pleasure just chopping it up and to be in this cipher of Black men thinking, even in this really tough time for our nation, tough time for our people more so. I'm appreciative of just the cipher of thoughts, the cipher of knowledge and perspectives. If I had to close this out, my final thoughts is just, I think we got to continue to be there for each other. We can't depend on anyone else to be there for us. If you're a faith walker or a faith believer, obviously you could depend on the comfort of your creator. But other than that, I think we as people who have his divine spirit in us, we got to be there for one another and realize we're in a fight and we're all at different levels in life. So our perspectives might be slightly different, but we got to come together about what are the things in our agenda and in our code for our race that we do agree upon. Let's attack and tear down the things that we can agree upon. And then we move into those subsets of places that we do disagree and find ways to reconcile there. But I appreciate y'all having me, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on, bro. Dwayne, what you got something you want to comment on, bro? Anybody else?
I could close out. One, I feel like every Black man that's on this podcast, I appreciate everybody coming on. I sent John a text message like, man, this is something we got to jump on this. This is a platform right now. This is something we need to jump on. And I feel like every Black man on here should have reached out to at least 5 other Black men. Reach out to them, talk to them, and let's start something where from New York down to Florida, wherever you from, or reach out to another Black man and you reach out to 5, they reach out to 5 and just keep going and start something where we start coming together. Because it starts, I'm not knocking the Black women, it starts with the Black men. It starts with us. We have to start doing something. Reach out to 5 men, tell them to reach out to 5 other guys. Hey, start standing up. We can start, I know we got the NAACP, but we can start an all-men organization from north to the south, to the east, to the west. Everybody reach out to 5 Black men, man, because we got to start somewhere. And sometimes it start with just 5 people, or it maybe start just with 2 people. You got to start somewhere. So right now, I feel like we can start now, after this podcast, or however y'all want to do it, start reaching out. And we could come up with something where we could reach out and start reaching out to our young people and start from somewhere where we could start educating our own community and start teaching. And like I say, so everybody won't forget where they came from and everything. So I feel like it has to start somewhere. This is the footprint. Start here, reach out. I guarantee we reach out to other 5 Black men. I guarantee after all that, you're going to have some white guys that are going to want to join in just because they believe in the movement. I'm not saying reach out to them, but I'm just saying this is what's going to happen. You're going to have some that's going to believe in the movement and they're going to, like, I'm with them. Everybody should be equal. You should not be treating a man because of the color of his skin. He should not get killed because of the color of his skin. He should not get harassed because of the color of his skin. You know what I'm saying? Or because of the car he's driving. Everybody trying something different. We need to do something different. And starting right now, I feel like reaching out to 5, as 5 of us on here, everybody reach out to 5 different Black men. Not in your circle. I know John, I know Kenny, we in some of the same circle. Reach out to somebody that's outside the circle. Man, that's basically all I say.
Appreciate that, bro. Kenny, you got anything?
So I've been, just talking to some people individually, just about some of the content and for people to just, take a listen and whatnot. I've found that what we've been doing so far is having an effect. I've spoken to a few people who have relayed the link to some of our younger men, and it's had an extremely positive effect. I know one person who has a friend whose son is a highly touted recruit up north, and with the whole COVID situation and not being able to really see where the interest is for where he's going to play ball, it's kind of been, been taking him for a little spin for and whatnot. And she recommended that he listen to the podcast, and he did, and it put him in a whole different space. So I don't want any of us to think that what we're doing is in vain. It's working, maybe in small numbers, but people are listening. I want other people to get involved, whether it's having conversations offline or it's having conversations on the Instagram page, or wanting to be a part of the podcast or anything. I'm just saying this for us to be motivated to keep this going as long as possible and as much as possible. I don't think that we have these conversations enough.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Appreciate y'all being on, fellas. It's been most definitely a pleasure. I appreciate y'all opinions, your thoughts, and there's a lot to take from what we talked about. I think everybody made, really good points, suggestions. It's got to start somewhere. Like I said the riot is a start. It's obviously not the objective, it's not the goal, but these protesting is a start. Talking about these conversations is a start. These things are just a beginning to seeing the change, but what I don't want to see, and what I think we all can agree, is that we don't want to see the energy that's being put out there by our people, whether it's being used negatively or positively, but something has triggered people, and there's currently something festering. I hope it just continues to move in the right direction and turn into something great. And so, we'll be back on, man. This situation isn't going anywhere, so we'll most likely come back around and talk about this soon. But, I appreciate y'all brothers being on. So thanks a lot, y'all.
Peace.